Okay, my friend Otto Yang, Otto O Yang, has asked me to provide him with a bunch of Waterman 12 barrels and sections so he can create his handmade overlays with his Italian silversmith. That's the word I want. So I have to find, I don't have to, but I said I would, move my fat ass over to try to find barrels and sections for him. He doesn't need the caps. So I'm trying to find barrels and sections for him. I'll see. Of course, he'll want them to fit correctly. What the hell is this? That is a hole in the back. Safety pin. That's another safety pin. So anyway, what I'm trying to do right now is find barrels. Do I have sections that will fit in this nicely? I don't know that yet. But we cross our bridge one step at a time here. What the hell is this? And because he's going to cover these things with a overlay, I don't think it makes any difference to him whether it's nice and crispy or not. Like this is rather crispy, so you don't want to waste this on an overlay, where this one is sort of faded and the crispiness is gone. So maybe that'll work for me. Now, why am I keeping these things in the first place? I mean, why would I want to keep them? Well, I'll tell you why. Because when I have a customer here and he or she is trying out different pens, I'll put nibs in these sections and feeds and barrels, and I'll, do you like this nib? Do you like that nib? Rather than putting them into lever pens with stacks and all that kind of nonsense on it, I'll have them try out the nib more easily in a pen that I mean, if we're just focusing on the nib, we'll focus on the nib. Okay, so I have a bunch of barrels. Otto, I hope these are going to be okay for you. Now, what's wrong with this? That evidently must go to a 15. Doesn't screw in on any of them. LFB. So anyway, I know that I've got others of these that have nibs in them and everything and feeds, so maybe there's a different drawer. Meanwhile, I'll try to find... Okay, so that doesn't work. What does this screw into, I wonder? This just falls out, so that's a weird size. I know Otto would not be content, I don't think, with just the barrels. I think he wants to have the sections that fit. The feeds are immaterial, they can come from anywhere. But you want to get a tight, correct fit for the section. And look at that cute little safety kind of, that's not a safety. So here are these. Now let's see, are there any sections anywhere here? I must have them somewhere. See, this is the one that goes to a 15. I can turn this into a pen. What's wrong with it? There has to be something wrong with this. Otherwise, I would have turned it into a pen long ago. Oh, I see the lever's broken. Anyway, folks, I know it's been a long time since I've been doing StreamYarding, and I'm hoping that I don't want to do it as much as I did before, because I think 9/10 of what I have to say about pens, I've already said about pens. And I don't necessarily want to repeat myself too much, even though I'm probably doing it right now. I may do StreamYard, live StreamYards more with artists and or calligraphers, people that use the pens rather than just, I'm using that word in all sorts of quotes, collect them. But to me, the point is the point, and the line that the point makes is what makes me smile. 90% of the smile comes from that. 10% of the smile comes from the beauty of the pen, the weight of the pen, the initials engraved on the pen, all of the other things that make pens interesting to you and you and you. They also are interesting to me, but not as much as the nib and what you do with the nib. So Otto, let me see if I can find some sections for these. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That should keep you busy. And of course, finding at a pen show, finding number 12 barrels shouldn't be that difficult for anyone. But the pen god has a bunch of them, so one-stop shopping. I don't know what I'm going to charge you for these, Otto Yang, and I know you probably will accept my price regardless of what I say, but I don't know. What is the value of a barrel and a section these days on the open market? I know caps for a 12 are probably the hardest thing to find, one that isn't cracked or broken some way. The barrel is probably the easiest thing to find. So, in the pie chart of the value of a pen, the barrel, actually it's probably the nib is easiest to find, because the nib spanned, you can take a nib out of a 52 or a 42 and put it in a 12 and it'll work just fine. Now if you want to have the exact nib that came in a 12, and you know that this imprint is on this nib is from 1920, not 1910, that's going to be your problem. It's not going to be mine. And again, in Otto's case, he's constructing a big chunk of this pen is going to be made yesterday, or more likely made 3 months from now. So we're already playing that game of frankenpenning. So putting a nib that is from 1920 in a 1910 pen that was made yesterday is, I don't think that's important. Even for Otto, who's I think we can call him a purist in a way, but he's making things. He's making new pens in the style of old pens. Not to make a forgery, he insists loudly that these are pens that he is creating himself. Is this a look? There's a section. What do you know? I found one section. We'll put it over here with the barrels. But anyway, it's taken me months to get off my fat ass and walk 10 feet, open up this drawer, and take a look at them. So, good for me. I can cross something off my list. If I can find that list I made 3 months ago when Otto asked me for these things, I can cross it off that list. So if anyone is watching and want to make a comment on this, you can say, Peer, type it, Peer. Thank you for showing on StreamYard again. I don't care about number 12 barrels. I want you to talk about this kind of pen, or this kind of drawing, or this kind of calligraphy. And I'll see if I am inspired to do a live video, maybe with you on it, with us talking about this kind of drawing, or this kind of pen, or this kind of calligraphy. So there you go. Oh, Friedrich, you're here. I'm going to put this thing away just because it's in my way here. So I'll be right back, Friedrich. Don't go away. Friedrich, would you like to join me live? Do you have your pants on? Okay, I've got two bottles. What does this one even say? I do exactly what I'm not supposed to do. I mix inks. I think I can throw this bottle away. Okay, what's wrong with this ink? Nothing. Look at that Waterman taper right. Look at that line that you can tell that this is a Waterman. It has the Waterman flexible nib jean, dominant jean that they wear. You don't have pants on and you're not even out of bed. Well, that's fine. How's your father? Waterman discontinued the brown ink. That's fine. The Waterman brown ink was a little too blech from my point of view. I love someone in my building, in the free section of our building, we have people drop off books they don't want and stuff like that. And someone dropped a Pelican 2004 or whatever it is, sepia, which I love. I love that color. You look at this pen. There's nothing wrong with it except for the following. It has a broken lever box, which I don't care about. I mean, if I'm careful about filling the pen, I won't break it actually further. It's held together by maybe one molecule of metal. But is this nib right for this pen? I think it needs to have should have a stubbier nib in it. It's a little bulldog of a pen in it, but it has this little squeaky chihuahua voice to it, which doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, the pelican brown is really, really nice. I like that color. Ooh. Okay. This nib looks like it would be much more ooey than it is. I haven't used these pens. These are ones I filled up to go to Minneapolis, and there's probably a lot of dried ink in it. You know, I look at a pen like this and I think of Doris Day and Rock Hudson in Pillow Talk or something. Well, I try not to think of Doris Day. I'll just think of Rock Hudson. Now, it's just that style of 1950s Cadillacs. Sort of this fake glam. Okay, this pen obviously has had a leverectomy, and it has, oh, it's a Franken pen. It has a dip nib in it. Boinga boinga. Just the facts, ma'am kind of pen. Just the facts pen, to me, the Jack Webb pen, he would have, I think of him as having a Schaefer Triumph nib touchdown with a metal cap. No, even the gold band is too fancy for just the facts, ma'am. It would be well, I guess they all had gold bands. Would he be able to, even on a sergeant's pay, he probably was frugal. I imagine just the facts, Sergeant Friday would go home and have a TV dinner on a TV dinner stand, and he'd watch the Ed Sullivan show. No, that's even too progressive. He'd watch just the news, just the facts, none of this artifice. So the pen that he would just be a pen that has a stiff nib, maybe a little bit broad, not a fine nib. He wanted facts. He didn't want factoids. He didn't want to have subtleties in his facts. He wanted the fact. Bishop Brown. Yeah, he might. The Bishop Brown. That's not. I'm trying to find one here. Brown is too. It would be black. He would have a black pen. Brown has way too much color to it. And I think even on a sergeant's pay, he would save up a little bit and buy a pen that's just slightly beefier than that pen. I again think a touchdown, Triumph nib touchdown would be the sort of thing that would be what he would choose. See, this is what I like about pen collecting, is sitting it down and trying to figure out what kind of pen Jack Webb would have, or his character. And I think his character of Sergeant Friday and his character of Jack Webb and his life of Jack Webb are not that different rather from each other. One was, of course, wealthy and the other one wasn't. But I think conservative, Republican probably, probably couldn't wait to tell Senator McCarthy all he knew. Just couldn't wait. But if you and I if you and I walked around a pen show and asked everyone what kind of pen do you think Jack Webb or Sergeant Friday would use, I think some people would enjoy pondering, thinking that. Mike Daigle would, Scott would, Nicola Pang, would he get into that? Maybe. Otto Yang, I think he might. No, I'm sure Otto Yang would. He has a very creative side to him. David Isaacson wouldn't know how to play the game. And if he did know how to play, I wouldn't allow him to. I can just hear him saying, that pen did not exist when Dragnet first appeared. That hadn't been made yet, or that was made 2 years before, and they wouldn't have used that. It's banned. God. I heard through the grapevine what he said about Dr. Otto Yang. He referred to him as Dr. Wohan and said, you don't see because of your squinty eyes, or something like that. Fuck, what a loser. Now, maybe I'm saying this out of context. Who knows? I wasn't there, but I can imagine him saying that. Look at this pen. Now, would Sergeant Friday have a 61? Maybe. '61 with its missing arrow. A good 20% of 61s are missing their arrow. So they did have a Boston pen show, a Massachusetts pen show, Commonwealth pen show the other day, and I did not attend. I was in Connecticut at a regatta of classic boats, and I thought that would be a much more fun place to be than in the basement of a Unitarian church. But I believe people that went to the basement of the Unitarian church had a good time. I would have had that regatta not happened, I would have gone, and I would have had a good time, I'm sure. I just probably would not have brought any pens with me to sell, because that would have required more time than I had to prepare myself. Now, Sergeant Joe Friday might have had one of these. pens. I could imagine him going to the store and someone trying to sell him a 51, and he says, "Oh, I want the pen that has the nib on it that you can see." Oh, well, we have the Parker VS. VS. The show was canceled. The hotel decided it didn't have enough staff, which is a lie. I'm sure had a wedding been booked where they would be having wine and dinner and all sorts of stuff, they would have found the staff, but they don't make enough money at a pen show. They rent the room, and we don't have a banquet. So anyway, so what happened was Todd Merrill found a location that he knew of, and it was in the center almost of the Massachusetts. So it was going to be an hour-long drive there, if not an hour and a half, and it was just going to be for one day, which is fine. I do my shopping at a pen show in about an hour. I mean, I go back and I kick the tires again on other pens, and I buy those sometimes. But so it did happen. There were, I don't know how many people, maybe 15 dealers, and I don't know how many walk-ins came, but it was just a way to have something rather than nothing. Next year, the Boston Pen Show is not going to be at that hotel. It will be in a different location, a different venue that I think actually is going to be fun. I won't mention where that will be here publicly because the organizers haven't mentioned where it will be publicly. But I will say that the location, the building is really interesting, and the building is used quite often for artistic and maker market and farmers market kinds of things. So it has a group of customers that go to that building that I think are right up the street. That they're up. They live on our street. They would like fountain pens, even if they've never had one. They're the kind of people that would like them. So hopefully it'll work fine. So we will find out. Cancel. So I need to find a bunch of sections that fit those pens. And that's not going to be easy. I've decided, oops, it may not be easy. That means looking in another drawer. So sometime when you are out of bed, we can do another chat. Maybe it would be fun to go through TV shows from the 50s and 60s and imagine what kind of pen would Leave It to Beaver's father use, and what kind of pen would Mrs. Beaver use. She would have a Lady Scripsert, the one with the moire pattern. That would be her pen. Hugh Beaumont, what would he have? What would Mr. Beaver have? Mr. Cleaver? He would have I think of him, he was a gentler kind of person than Jack Webb. And I think of Schaefer pens as being a little bit more Republican than Democrat. But I don't think Mr. Cleaver would be as far left as Waterman. But he would have a Parker of some sort. He'd probably have a Parker Vacuumatic. The ivory script, yes, to match her pearls. Ward, thank you so much, but I don't want the gold. What made you buy this? I'll return it and get the ivory satin. The ivory satin. And the fishnet, not with the fishnet. No, not that. That's too slutty for me. The clubs. Yeah, Waterman's would be hearts. Eversharp's would be diamonds. And the reason I say that, I think of Eversharp's pens as pressing the fancy button twice. Add an extra gold band, add a, it's not just a white dot or a little blue diamond painted in the clip. They have to nail on a little gold seal with the check marks. They just had to go over the top a little bit. So they would be the diamonds. Hearts would be Waterman because they're mushy and flexible and a little bit too romantic and old-fashioned. So Parker and Schaefer, yeah, clubs. I guess if you only have those two for Parker and Schaefer, and one's a spade and one's a club, if you think of bridge, spades are worth more than clubs, but when you said clubs, I immediately thought of fraternal organizations. And I think of Schaefer owners as belonging to the Elks, the Rotarians, the Shriners. They all would have Schaefers. Parkers are more free thinking to me, free thinkers. But that's just me. Thoughts? Diamonds. I'll change my mind tomorrow, of course. None of this is my channel has 100% opinion. That's blue. Blue Mystère. What is this? Black. Is this actual black or is this been watered down? I can't tell doing that. Yeah, words are fun. Club, club, club. It's a thing that a caveman carries around with him. It's the thing a caveman does. When he sees something he wants to eat or kill. Anyway. Swan, yeah, I suppose. I mean, that's I think of swans and watermans as being, they have like 90% of the same genetic material running through them. They're conservative in styling. old-fashioned in styling, I should say, not conservative, old-fashioned. Their nibs tend to harken back to quills, flexible lines. No, I think so. Okay, I'm going to stop now, but it was great seeing you and talking to you, and I'm going to get back to trying to find where the sections are. So you all be good. Bye.